Hi, I'm Miss Hearn. Welcome to my channel. Remember to like and subscribe. Now let's talk about the relationships between polar coordinates and rectangular coordinates. All right, so for this, we're going to refer back to our standard right triangle where we label the point XY, where X is the adjacent side to theta, Y is the opposite side. So R would be the hypotenuse. So we know from the Pythagorean theorem that X squared plus Y squared is equal to what? R squared. And then we know that the sine of theta is equal to what ratio? I mean, it's opposite over hypotenuse, but what are the letters? Y over R. And then cosine of theta would be X over R, good. And tangent of theta would be Y over X, good. And notice it gives us a relationship. If we know theta and we know R, then we can figure out X and Y. And if we know X and Y, we can find R and theta. When you're converting from R thetas to X Ys, it's easiest to rearrange the formula here to say multiply both sides by R and we get Y equals R sine theta. Multiply both sides by R and you get X equals R cosine theta. So to convert a point from polar coordinates R theta to XY, use R cosine theta and Y equals R sine theta. So let's go ahead and use that to find the rectangular coordinates for the point 3 pi. What is R in this case? 3, and theta is pi. So that means X is going to be 3 times the cosine of pi. Cosine of pi, think of pi is this point, -1, 0. What's the cosine? -1, good. So this is going to be 3 times -1, which is -3. And then Y is going to be 3 times the sine of theta. What's the sine of theta? 0, good, 0. So the point 3 pi should be the point -3, but that makes sense, right? If you go to pi and go out 3 units to the left, you're going to be at so find the rectangular coordinates of the point with the following pair of coordinates, -10 pi over 6. So what's R equal to? -10. What is theta equal to? Pi over 6. So X is equal to -10 times the cosine of pi over 6, and Y is equal to -10 times the sine of pi over 6. These are special angles. We don't use a calculator for this. Cosine of pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 2. So you're going to get -5 square roots of 3. Okay. And then what's sine of pi over 6? 1/2. So you're going to get -5. So the pair of coordinates is going to be -5 root 3, comma, -5. Now let's just check to make sure it seems reasonable that we're in a quadrant where both the X and the Y are negative. What quadrant would that be where both the X and the Y are negative? Quadrant 3, that's right. So let's see that we do end up in quadrant 3 when we plot this. So if we plot that, remember you start with theta first. I kind of wish they had done theta R instead of R theta, but anyway, so pi over 6 would be over here. So a negative radius tells us to go in the opposite direction. You see how that is in quadrant 3? So it does make sense that we would have both the X and the Y coordinates be negative. Before we do, given the XY, find the R theta, let's go ahead and do a survey. I have to set it up, but here's the question. All right, so the most popular choice was B, which is correct, but half of you got it wrong. So let's take a look at Y. Y is the answer B. So notice that all of these have the same X, Y values except for the sign, right? So for A is in what quadrant? What quadrant is A in? Quadrant 2. What quadrant is B in? Quadrant 4. What quadrant is C in? 3. And D, of course, is in quadrant 1. What quadrant is -pi over 4 in? We're going down in this direction, right? By pi over 4. So we're in quadrant 4. And really, that's all you needed to know because, that's the only one that's in quadrant 4. It would have to be that answer. But let's see how we actually get. And then, by the way, a distance of 3. So here's 3 comma -pi over 4. But if we're going to work it out, which we should, X equals R, which is 3 times the cosine of -pi over 4. The cosine of negative pi over 4, because we're in quadrant 4, is going to be positive root 2 over 2. So that's 3 root 2 over 2. And then y is equal to 3 times the sine of negative pi over 4. Sine of negative pi over 4 is negative root 2 over 2 in quadrant 4. So we have negative 3 root 2 over 2. Okay, sorry to hear that, Kendria. All right, now let's practice going the other direction. What I mean is, if we're given rectangular coordinates, find a point in the form r theta. And that's what we're going to do in the next video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That will help other students to find the video. You can also subscribe to my channel, Miss Earn Mathematics, for more math videos.